Hello, my name is Chloe, welcome to my channel. Today I'm bringing to you my February TBR. So the big readathon that lots of people are taking part in February is of course Polarthon, hosted by Jade from Jade Reads. I think this is the 4th Polarthon. Now I've said that, I feel like I'm getting it wrong, but Polarthon has been running a little while now, and every year I say, Chloe, you don't need to take part, you don't like polar fantasy. But then I realised you only have to read one polar fantasy, and I have one on my shelves, so it looks like I am taking part in Polarthon again. I am of course joining Gavin's team, Team Explorers, and wait, I should say, all the information for Polarthon will be linked down below. It's obviously not my readathon, but I will link Jade's announcement video so you can find out what's going on if you're not already aware, but I'm sure you are. So yes, I'll be joining the Explorers, captained by Gav, and I cannot wait. We have to travel up the mountain. The first prompt for the mountain is to read a book with an adventure. So I'm going to be reading Wildfire by Carrie Mack. I hauled this not too long ago now, and mainly I'm reading it because it is very short. This is a week-long readathon and I am reading 4 books. You can double up on prompts if they are next to each other on the mountain. So this one is just covering the prompt for adventure. This book follows Annie and Pete, who have been best friends since they were little. They know each other better than anyone, and they've been on more adventures than they can count. They even have a notebook filled with all the times they've almost died. But they always survive because together they're invincible. There's a bit more on here, but it says now they're heading out on their next great quest, a 10-day backpacking trip through the mountains of Washington State, ending at Fire Camp, where they'll learn to fight the area's growing wildfire problem. And this one just looks so great. It looks very cute, but intense as well, because I know nothing really about wildfires. And it definitely fits Jade's prompt of reading a book with an adventure. It says they're heading out on their next great adventure. Next up is to read a book with a cold word in the title, and that is the perfect prompt, and it has lined up perfectly with my reread of one of my favourite series of all times, because I need to read Bitter Blood by Rachel Caine, which is book 13 in the Morganville Vampire series. Bitter being bitterly cold. I'm taking it. I think it counts. I can't tell you much about this book in particular because it is book 13 in a series, but the Morganville series follows Claire Danvers, who goes to Texas Prairie University in the town of Morganville. She thinks everything is fine and dandy, but Morganville is actually run by vampires, and once you're in the town, you are not permitted to leave. So yeah, book 13, we're deep into some different stuff going on. This is book 13 of 15, so I've nearly finished my full reread. It is a chunkier book. I think it's over 500 pages, wow. But these books read so quickly, they are so easy to read, they're so enjoyable, and I will definitely be able to do this. Next up, we have a book with a foiled cover, and I have gone for Ink by Alice Broadway. As you can see, this is very foiled, and it does lead on to another book I'm reading. There is a reason that I am rereading this in February at the start of the month, but this book, really, I can't remember much about it. I remember loving it. I think this was on my best books list of the year I read it. Yeah, I read it in 2020. I think it did hit my best books list. Why is my brain not functioning? But this doesn't even have the main characters. Leora is the main character, but this world, this society, not really sure what to call it, you get tattoos throughout your lifetime of everything you've done, really, your achievements, your failures, your jobs, your marriages, all that stuff gets inked onto your body, and when you die, your skin is flayed and turned into a book. The truth will get under your skin, and yeah, there are no secrets in Saint Stone. Imagine a world where every action, your every deed is marked on your skin for all to see, and Leora has something to hide. Ink is a story about love, loyalty, and the desire to live forever. It's a tale that gets under your skin. And I really enjoyed it when I read it. As I will say, there is a reason I'm rereading it, but definitely foiled. And the last 2 prompts that I'm going to be combining are Icy Magic and then Polar Fantasy. And a book I have that fits that perfectly is Winterwood by Shay Earnshaw. So I was actually gifted this last year to read for Polarthon, and then I didn't read it in time. So it's now definitely time to read it. I have to read it for Polarthon. I'm starting to say to myself, if I don't read it, I have to one haul it, because I am probably very daunted by this book. and I know Polarthon is the perfect time. I know next to nothing about it apart from when I read out the blurb in my last Polarthon TBR, so let me just tell you what it's all about. It says, be careful of the dark wood, especially the woods surrounding the town of Fairhaven. Some say these woods are magical, cursed even. Rumoured to be a witch, only Nora Walker knows the truth. She and the Walker women before her have always shared a special connection with the woods. And it's this special connection that leads Nora to Oliver Huntsman, the same boy who disappeared from the camp for wayward boys weeks ago, and in the middle of the worst snowstorm in years. He should be dead, but here he is alive and left in the woods with no memory of the time he'd been missing. But Nora can feel an uneasy shift in the woods at Oliver's presence. And it's not too long after that Nora realises she has no choice but to unearth the truth behind how the boy she has come to care for so deeply survived his first time in the forest and what led him here in the first place. It just sounds very whimsical, and I have read The Wicked Deep by Shea Earnshaw and loved it, so I'm sure I'll like this one too. I'm just a little bit daunted. So that is my TBR for Polarthon, and I guess now it's time to delve into the other books I'll be reading. First up, I have my book clubs read, so that is Chloe's Crime Scene Corner. I will link you the announcement video for February, March and April if you'd like to find out more, but the book we're going to be reading this month is Girl A by Abigail Dean. I have heard very mixed things about this book. It's either the best thing people have read or one of the worst. So this is going to be interesting because I haven't loved a book club pick since Tender is the Flesh, and that was November. So this one says, Lex Gracie doesn't want to think about her family. She doesn't want to think about growing up in her parents' house of horrors, and she doesn't want to think about her identity as Girl A, the girl who escaped. When her mother dies in prison and leaves Lex and her siblings the family home, she can't run from her past any longer. Together with her sister, Evie, Lex intends to turn the House of Horrors into a force for good. But first she must come to terms with her 6 siblings and with the childhood that they shared. I think it sounds amazing, so I am definitely intrigued to see why everyone's opinion differs on this one so much. Next up, we have my Patreon buddy read pick. So what I normally do, I say normally, this is only 2 months it's been running for, is I post my TBR and then we pick a book from my TBR. But because I had a lot of like readathons and buddy reads and sequels and things, I decided to make a list of books I was interested in and get my patrons to pick one before filming this video. So the book we're going to be reading in February is The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune, and yes, I have not read this book yet. So this book won the vote by a long way, and I guess we'll all be picking it up in February. I do not know too much about this at all. I know there is some sort of school for magical children. I know that everybody loves this book, and that is why I'm so scared to read it. So hopefully I love it as much as everyone else, and hopefully all of my patrons love it too. Then let's move on to buddy reads, shall we? So the first one I have here is Spark by Alice Broadway, the sequel to Ink. So I'm going to be reading this with Claire from Books and Ink over on Instagram. As soon as I got this book, she said she was interested in buddy reading it with me. So we've left it a bit too long now so that I don't even remember Ink. So I'm going to reread Ink and then buddy read this one with Claire. So I'm very excited to do this. Next, I have a buddy read with the lovely Chelsea from Relaxation over here on YouTube, and that is Silka's Journey by Heather Morris. So we buddy read The Tattooist of Auschwitz together, which is the first kind of book, but this follows another person in Auschwitz-Birkenau during the time that was run by the Nazis. So this says, Silke Klein is just 16 years old when she is taken to Auschwitz-Birkenau concentration camp. The commandant, oh god, Schwarzhuber, I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, notices her long beautiful hair and forces her separation from the other women prisoners. Silke learns quickly that power, even unwillingly given, equals survival. After liberation, Silke is charged as a collaborator by the Russians and sent to a desolate, brutal prison camp in Siberia. I didn't know this. Innocent, but in prison once again, Silke faces challenges both new and horribly familiar. But when she meets a man called Alexandra, Silke finds that despite everything, there is room in her heart for love. Silke's journey is a powerful testament to the triumph of human spirit. It will leave you astonished and uplifted by one woman's fierce determination to survive against all odds. Oh my god, I can't wait to read this. I did not read the back of that, ever. I just bought it because it came after The Tattooist of Auschwitz, and I loved that. I can't wait to read this. I genuinely can't wait to read this. And the final book I am directly buddy reading is Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reid, and I'm reading this with Rebecca from Rebecca Reads, again over here on YouTube. This book got massive on BookTube in 2020. I think it was 2020. All time has merged together. Yeah, I'm gonna say it was 2020. But I know next to nothing about this. I just know what I've read on the back, and I know that everybody loves it. So I'm really, really hoping that I also love it. When Amira is apprehended at a supermarket for kidnapping the white child she's actually babysitting, her employer Alex resolves to make things right. She begins a crash course that will upend everything they think they know about themselves, each other, and the messy dynamics of privilege. And yeah, I've just heard amazing things, so I'm really, really hoping that I love this as much as everyone else, because I don't seem to love popular books. Then we have a book that's kind of come over from my January TBR, and that is Crush by Tracy Wolfe. And I'm going to push this one into February because this was the book picked for me by Becca over at Becca Fowl. But I wanted to reread Crave before I read this one. And actually at the time of filming, I haven't even reread Crave yet. So Crush, being a 700-page book, is going to go into February. I won't talk about it too much because I did that in my January TBR, so make sure you go check that out if you'd like to hear more. But this is the sequel to Crave, which is a story of a boarding school for the supernatural, let's say. Speaking of Becca, she is running a read-along of all of Cassandra Clare's works, so February is time for City of Ashes. Again, at the time of filming this video, I haven't even read City of Bones again yet, but I have read these books so many times that I probably could just start wherever I have time to pick up the book. Like, I don't need to keep up, but hopefully I will read City of Bones and then City of Ashes. Again, second book in a series, don't want to say too much about it, but the Mortal Instruments series itself follows a group of shadow hunters who are charged with protecting humans from demons, and that is all I'll say. City of Ashes, I don't think it's ever been my favourite of the series, but I do enjoy it. I would like to reread it, but let's hope I get time. Because the final book in this TBR of what was supposed to be a chilled month is We Were Kings by Court Stevens. This was an arc I have only just graciously received from the publisher, but this comes out on February the 15th, so I would love to read it in February, and I won't talk about it too much because I did in my vlog that went up this week, but this is about 18-year-old Frances, who is convicted of murdering her best friend Cora and sentenced to death. And in this society there is the Accelerated Death Penalty Act, giving Frankie... I have noticed an error. That says Frankie and Francis. Is it Francis or Frankie? Because the blurb says both. But it gives our main character 30 final days to live. I believe the book says Frankie, so that must just be an error on the back, I'm gonna say. Sounds very interesting, and I'm very grateful to have received an arc. So that is it. That is my supposed to be chilled TBR for February that has ended up not being chilled at all. Let me know if you have read any of these books, if you've loved any of them, hated any of them, or if you'd like to get involved with anything I do. So my Patreon is linked down in the description if you would like to join in with our buddy reads, and I will link the book club announcement if you'd like to get involved with that, and our buddy read of Girl A. So that is everything. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!